Hey guys, this is Emily Lopez with the My House podcast, and today I have my husband Dallas with me here again today. And this is exciting because this is the first time we are recording video as well. So if you like the podcast and listen to it, always please like, subscribe, review. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, you can go and watch the video. This is the first time we're doing that, so go check out YouTube, search Emily Lopez Realtor or real estate, and I should come up. You can't just search Emily Lopez because there's not enough of you yet. So subscribe and follow, and maybe we can boost it up higher on YouTube too. So today, what I want to talk about is an interesting thing that many of you have probably heard about if you follow the world of reality TV or the Kardashians. And I brought this up to you, Dallas, and you were like, no, I haven't heard about that. So Kim Kardashian recently did an interview, and I think they aired it on Women's Day, and they said, what's your advice to women in business? And she said a couple other things, but they're quoting just one piece of it where she says, get off your fucking ass and go to work, or get to work, or something like that. And people have just lost it. They've said she's born with a silver spoon. She was born in Beverly Hills. She's had everything given to her. And there's just been this outrage culture against her, and all this self-pity of people talking about how their lives are so hard and Kim Kardashian's had everything handed to her. So what do you think about this, Dallas?
I guess at first I was a little bit torn, but I think my initial reaction to you was, yes, all of that is true. She definitely was born into wealth and an easier life and an easier go at things, but that doesn't mean they're not working hard. And I will preface this by saying I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan. So it's not, fandom that's driving me to say that, I agree with her and am fully in belief of her statement or whatever. But it's hard to not buy into that. That's kind of the point, right? Is get up and work. I like I said, I think I'm fully kind of on board with it, even though I'm not a fan of the Kardashians.
My head automatically went to, okay, who can I think of who has had less opportunity than her and is richer than her, and then thinking of people that have had more opportunity than her and are less rich than her, and then just even looking at my life around me of people who were kind of handed a lot in your small town or where you grew up with, who you grew up with, and what was available to them, and did they make something of it? And you hear about people inheriting businesses and running them into the ground. Yes, of course, she had amazing opportunities to her, but I think it's really dangerous for us to start thinking about, well, you can just be successful if your parents are successful, or you can't if they're not. And that idea of helplessness or not putting in the effort really bothers me. So I started automatically, as I was going through it, I thought of Tori Spelling. Tori Spelling was Aaron Spelling's daughter. He was a producer. He was mega, mega loaded, mega, mega rich, right? And she grew up very, very wealthy with every opportunity to her. She did some acting stuff. And we always see her in the media for struggling with money, overspending, not really making great business decisions. Just because you have opportunity doesn't mean you're going to make the right decisions with it, or that you're going to work hard enough to turn it into something bigger.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a really good example to really pair up against Kim Kardashian and her statement, because it does kind of fit in line with the same thing. Every single one of the Kardashians, I feel like for the most part, with what little bit I do know of them, seems like they have all fully maximized the potential in front of them. Yes, again, 100 times over, is it way, way, way easier to start a business, to run a business, to even fail a business when you have resources and people and business partners and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. So they definitely can risk more with the money that they already have. But again, it's not just about, they have money so they can do whatever they want. It's the hard work aspect of it. Are they working hard with what they currently have? And I think that that's where, the few times that I've even seen you watching the show when it was still on, and, Kim is doing all this stuff. She's got clothing lines. She's going to law school. She's got a million kids or whatever. Like, she's got all kinds of stuff going on. She is working her ass off to stay relevant, to stay in her sphere, and also expand with the law school stuff and the businesses and all that stuff. So it's definitely one of those that like, yeah, you could easily say, like, oh, it must be nice. Must be nice. You know, she came from everything and was able to build everything. But the one thing that kind of stands out to me, and I actually remember this episode kind of vividly there close to the end of the series when you were watching it, was that they went back to one of the houses they had first lived in or whatever. And yeah, it was a nice, you know, I think it was Beverly Hills. You could correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a nice house, but it definitely wasn't, you know,
Where
one of
she's
these,
at now.
yeah, it wasn't one of these mega mansions or whatever that she's living in now. And just goes to show, what was it when she started out? Wasn't she like a stylist or like an assistant or something to
Paris Hilton, because they were friends. So she
Right.
had access and she
Right.
had opportunity, but
right,
she turned it into something huge for
for
herself.
sure. And that didn't stop. Obviously, she has done nothing but continue to grow her brand. And I believe it's her mom, is that right? That you said that kind of runs the business show
She's
for
their
all them and
manager.
like has really, really expanded on everything. And even like I said, that just the few little snippets here and there of the show that I've seen, all they do is work. They do two things. They work and go on vacation. But I totally get it. They're working really, really hard for those vacations and whatnot. And yes, they have tons of money, and one of them's a billionaire, and the combination of the masses of them are billionaires and stuff. So yeah, but that money came from somewhere. It came from hard work, popularity, obviously. So definitely there's two sides to this coin. But if you really truly want to look at it for the statement that it is, and we want to address her statement being that, you know, get off your butt and work, that's what we need to focus on, not where she came from, because she's obviously gotten way farther away from where she started anyway because of the hard work. And the hard work is what's going to propel her or anybody else forward.
And I think the thing to think about too is people talk about, oh, we've watched your show. We've watched all the comments I've seen. We've watched the seasons and they don't work. They just sit around. That show is their business.
That's work. Yeah.
It's just like an Instagram influencer. You can complain about it all you want, but we're the ones keeping them in business. If no one watched their show, if no one bought their products, they would not be able to do what they're doing. So obviously their show is marketable. Their products are marketable. They have to have content for the show. So we've talked about taking things you enjoy and being able to make them a business in other episodes. That's what they're doing. I guarantee you that if they're going to these resorts, they're always being greeted by the resort owners. That's probably paid for. Like they're probably asking them to come there and stay at their resort and be on the show to get promotion for the resort. Their vacation is part of their business, and they are smart. Kris Jenner, their mom/manager, is a super, super smart business lady. So again, we can complain about it or we can learn from it. And people just want to whine and moan and complain. They don't want to use things they can learn from other people. So that's where I think it's frustrating, is people just love to self-pity and no one wants to work hard. Right. She's exactly right. Get up and work. And she kind of went on to say, surround yourself with people that want to work. No one wants to work anymore. I hear this all the time. Anyone that I know that has a business that's hiring is struggling. No one wants to work, or they want a job, but then they're super unreliable. People just want it handed to them. Right. And it's super frustrating, but I think that's really where our society's at. Also evident by how many people whine and complain about this statement. Work. I listened to it and I was like, yeah, work. And other people listen to it and they whine and complain and made all these videos feeling sorry for themselves.
Right. Well, I think something too that's kind of overlooked, like you had mentioned it a little bit with influencers, that's the new job. That's the new, hot ticket item in the world. Really, you can take your cell phone and you can dance on it and become a millionaire. Like that's possible nowadays. So saying that people aren't working, well, Kim Kardashian and the Kardashian family, they were, if you think about it, they were influencers before influencing and influencers were a thing. They
invented it.
Yeah, because when they wore a certain designer, I mean, same as any celebrity, really, when you wear a certain designer or a certain makeup or drive a certain car, that's what other people aspire to, because they see that as being, maybe the pinnacle of wealth, or they want to be, emulating this person and what they have and stuff like that. And so it has evolved now to where, you see teenagers even that they get on TikTok and some of these other channels and they dance around and they make tons of money. And is that work? Yes, absolutely. If they can make money doing that and build a life that most people probably won't in their entire lives by the time they're 17, that's work, And so I think it's definitely something that people overlook, and people just think, you have to go and get a job, doing concrete or being a roofer or these laborious jobs and stuff, that's what equates to getting off your butt and working. And it doesn't have to be that. That's kind of the hidden loophole in this whole, system. And even in the whole statement that she made, she didn't say go out and get the worst job known to man. She just said, get up, stop watching TikTok and go make a TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, it could be as simple as that to get you working and you moving forward into a better scheme of life or whatever. And I just think that the statement in itself holds a lot of weight. The problem is it kind of goes in line with, that old statement back in the day about, and you probably can fill in and kind of correct me on how it exactly goes. It's like the circle or whatever, that like hard times make, hard men, and hard men make easy times, and then easy times make soft men, and soft men, lead to hard times, and that evolutionary cycle that just keeps going around and around. And I think we're obviously in that time where things are so good right now for everybody, so to speak. Obviously, this year has been tighter for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. But as far as things goes, we have people complaining about their lives with $1,400 cell phones every year, getting a new cell phone and a watch and a this and a that and all the newest tech and all the newest this and all that, and trying to keep up with every, thing going on. And it really truly is like we have the world at our fingertips with our cell phone. This is the easiest time in humanity. We don't have predators after us. We don't have that kind of stuff going on like the ancient times. So it really, really, truly is the easiest time. We also rolled out of a pandemic, and, take it for what it is and however your feelings are on it or whatever. But, they were just handing out money, and there was a lot to be said during that people were getting handed more money than they would have made if they had stayed at work, which ultimately even leads to more people not wanting to go back to work. So
that actually ties in really well to what I thought of when I was hearing all this happening. And I was listening to an audiobook. I want to give you the name of it. So it's called The Paradox of Choice. And it's by Barry Schwartz. And he talks about a lot of different things in it. And one of the main points, is very different than the side point here, but he talks about something I had never heard of. It's called, and I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong. It's Seligman's theory of, it's like learned helplessness. And this guy did this study a long time ago looking into depression. And it was really interesting. And I'm not a psychology person, so I'm sure I'm not getting all the details, and you can look it up for yourself. But basically what he's talking about is that people feel like regardless of their actions, nothing's going to change for them. So they do nothing. They do inaction. So there was a study with, I think, dogs, and they would shock these dogs. This is very sad. It made me sad for the dogs thinking about this, but it was, a long, long time ago. They would shock these dogs. And then I think they taught some of the dogs that they could jump out of like the base that they were getting shocked on. They could jump over this barrier. And it kind of seems like back then they thought that the helplessness was learned, but as it's developed, they kind of said the helplessness was the natural reaction, and then some learned to remove themselves from the situation. And even some that were taught still didn't. So basically that they'd shock these dogs, and some would jump out over the barrier to get out of this enclosure or whatever it was. But some of them, every time they shocked, they became kind of like how you see an abused dog, where they'd cower and just get, a dog that you rescue from the shelter, and it's just sad and it's shaking and it's cowering. And what their resolution was, or what they decided, was that they thought that no matter what they did, they couldn't escape from the situation that they were in. So it was this learned helplessness. And I see that in our society. I mean, we see people that just think that no matter what they do, that it won't get better. Because I always wonder, why do people not try to make their lives better? Or why do they not work harder? Or why do they not say, like, I'm going to get another part-time job? I just remember so many times in my life where I had so many jobs because I knew if I saved, I could invest and my life could be better. But this makes sense. Some people, and especially people that are depressed or prone to depression, they think that no matter what they do, it won't change the outcome for them. So it's this feeling of hopelessness, helplessness. And I think that really says a lot for what we see in our society today.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I haven't read the book, but I'm interested. I'll probably check it out when you're done. But it definitely kind of makes you think of that. But at the same time, for me, I feel like there's a lot to be said, not just about it being, this learned helplessness of just, well, things aren't going to get better, this, that, and the other. But we also are currently living in a system that basically just rewards you for not doing stuff. And I think the hard thing is you have people that are on assistance, and I'm not against assistance. I feel like assistance should be there as a safety net, and it should be for a limited amount of time to help you get back on your feet and get back to work, right? The problem becomes people are getting handouts that, when they're on assistance and stuff, that basically then in turn says, well, if you get a job but you make more than this amount of money, you lose those benefits. And that number doesn't equate to the benefits that you're getting because of taxes coming out, and, maybe child support and like whatever else you have going on. So really at the end of the month, when you're working to better yourself, but you lose your assistance, you end up with less money than if you had just stayed on assistance. So it's definitely not helping those who do want to get to work and find a way to better themselves and, move farther ahead and stuff when it's, well, honestly, I could stay at home and watch Maury Povich all day and get paid more money than
Or the same.
going to the horrible job that I hate.
Yeah. And so another thing that book went on to say, that study developed, that same psychologist that did the study, is they then did a study of infants where, don't worry, they didn't shock them. They laid infants, and they sounded like they were pretty young because they talked about how they weren't at the age where they could, babies learn to grab stuff and pull it towards themselves. So the babies could lay on their back, and they had like an umbrella, like the light umbrellas where you turn on the light and then it reflects the light through it. Behind the umbrella, it had like these animals that would dance, and it sounded like they were on a mobile. And when the babies would turn their heads to the side, sorry for that sound difference. I turned my head to the side. When the babies would turn their heads to the side, a light would come on so they could see behind the umbrella, the animals moving and dancing. And so of course they started to learn that when they turned their heads, then they could see the animals dancing, and they'd get all, excited about it. Well, they had two different groups of babies. They had a control group and a different group. And so even when a baby would turn its head to the side, like the ones that were figuring it out, all the babies got to enjoy the light coming on and the animals dancing, even if one baby turned its head. So you didn't have to do it for yourself. And at first, all the babies were delighted and excited to see the dancing animals. But then it turned into the ones that got the results without the action became less excited about it. So even in these little bitty babies, they talked about it being control. They could control when they wanted to see the animals or not. I think of it kind of like a reward system. I can't tell you. So I've posted some DIY videos on YouTube of how to fix things, just a couple of them. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about how proud they are when they do a project in their home. And they're like, I did that. Like, I did that myself. And I said, yeah. And the awesome thing is, because I'm so financially focused, you save money. Like, you think of what you'd have to pay somebody to do that, and you don't have to pay the money. And she's like, no, I'm just so proud that I did it myself. And I've had a couple of people come up to me and, oh, I did this project myself, and I'm so excited. And I think people are proud when they learn a skill and they do something for themselves. And even the babies, I don't know, I'm not a psychologist, if it was because of control that they controlled it, or if it was because they had created that thing that was a positive reaction. But the babies that got the same result and didn't do the work became less excited with the result.
Do you think this to me kind of sounds largely like the participation trophy? Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of that, we, again, as things are evolving in society and times are changing, that it kind of seems like now just signing up for the team or having your kids on the, soccer team, even if they're the worst ones and they score on their own goal and whatever, it's as long as they're having fun, they all get a trophy. And, there's no winners, there's no losers, because, they don't want to hurt feelings and stuff. But yeah, at the same time though, those kids that are putting in the work and staying longer at practice and putting in more reps and doing this and doing that, like, is it then also detrimental to them to see that the kids who, or the people in, our world or whatever, that just are floating by are getting the same exact thing?
And that probably adds to a feeling of helplessness in both high achievers and in people that aren't going to be as successful. I mean, really, if you think about it, so you're going to get a participation trophy, whether you did great or not. So who cares how hard I try? Or no matter how hard I try, I'm only going to get a participation trophy. It's not first, second, third. There's no merit-based anything. So why try? Because I'm not going to get a different result.
Yeah.
I think it adds to that even more.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that that's kind of the result they were able to see with infants or babies. I guess I don't really know what
stages.
Stages. Yeah. I don't have kids, so I don't know the baby stages, but I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you can see it in our, daily lives and stuff. I think it's real easy too for people to look at somebody like, anybody with wealth and just the typical must be nice. They didn't work for it. They inherited it, this, that, and the other. And honestly, there's a lot of them that have really, taken, what they've had and expanded. And I guess the Kardashians are a really good example, like we talked about, because isn't there a brother in the family who probably doesn't make quite as much as the rest of them, I'm guessing?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's had good opportunities and he's made some businesses, but he's not anywhere near the level that Kim is at. So again, he took what he had available to him and did something with it. Right. And she took what she had available to her and did something more with it. And again, it just shows she used a resource that was available to her and she grew it into something bigger. But she could have also done nothing with it and been nowhere. So yes, I think in life, unfortunately, not everybody has the same opportunities, but you would be remiss to spend your whole life crying about it instead of trying to do something with it. Right. But if you've truly convinced yourself that no matter what you do, you can't be successful, then you won't, right? I mean, you have to choose. So in my mind, I start thinking, if you're one of those people who have believed this way, and the studies have shown that I read that somebody could have one circumstance in their life where they put in a lot of effort and they didn't succeed or it didn't turn out the way they want to, and it can change your mind to thinking this way. So one of the examples it talks about, someone tries to quit smoking and they fail, so they just give up, but then they become a quitter and a giver-upper in life. Right. So it can be one instance in your life that can make you think this way. So I really started to think, okay, so how do you fix it? If you're one of these people, how do you notice it and say, okay, I don't want my life to be this way? And I think it's small wins. So you have these people who are these super operators. I think of like Jocko Willink. I don't know if I have his last name right. Do I? Jocko Willink. Yeah, he gets up super early in the morning and works out. I mean, all these people that just have all these things they fit into their day and they're super efficient people. And then they become more efficient because they see, oh, I did this. I got positive results. I'm going to do other things that give me positive results. And I think you also need to realize not everything in life is going to turn out the way you want. And not everything in life is going to give you positive results. You might get up super early in the morning to work out and you might break your ankle and you might not be able to work out for a while, So I think you also need to realize that one thing does not determine your whole life, but maybe you need to give yourself like little things that give you, I've seen things online like checklists for people with depression that even, okay, I actually just got up and took a shower today and made myself feel good about myself. Even if you went nowhere, even if it was just getting yourself ready, or I got up and took a walk around the block. I think you have to reintegrate these little wins to develop that. And you see that self-control gets you something, that setting goals and attaining them gets you something. It's like you have to rewire your brain, but you can't just, you've said a couple times, people just go, oh, must be nice. One of my friends posted that on Facebook the other day. She said, if I have one more person tell me it must be nice, I've worked my butt off for this. And I don't know her full story, but I know she's had some adversity in her life and worked really, really hard. And she's a nurse now and she works at a spa and does Botox, and she works at the emergency room and she works at a spa doing that type of stuff. But to put herself through nursing school, she went to cosmetology school and did nails. Like everything she's done smart, and okay, I have to do this to get here. And she's worked and worked and worked. And so, yeah, maybe people look at her life and go, oh, that's nice that you could afford that. Well, it didn't just fall out of the tree into her lap. She worked really, really hard for a long time and really, really smart for a long time. And so when somebody tells her, oh, must be nice, that really diminishes all the effort that she put in and how much she busted her ass.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I think too, like, you would probably know this better than I would. Was it, or is it Elon Musk maybe, who had posted a thing a while back that talked about how, like, everybody talks about like, oh, you have, set amount of money and you're so wealthy and, life must be so great and easy and blah, blah, blah. But nobody got to see the 70-hour work weeks for 20 years or, you know, I'm
Yeah.
probably exaggerating, but basically the same thing. And I think people need to realize, and I think they don't, that we're all on the same board game. Like we just are all starting at different points. Obviously some people are starting way farther ahead, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay ahead. How many of these athletes who, you know, are just the best of the best at their craft make all this money and 2 years out of the professional leagues are completely broke?
Yeah.
You know, having the money and the resources doesn't mean you're going to do right by them. And having to work hard is something that they're familiar with when it comes to putting in the hours in the gym and in practice and this and that. But even when it comes down to a business thing, how much work does it take to learn about stocks and investments and like all of that kind of stuff that you then would be potentially going into? So I think the thing people, again, I'm going to revert back to what I said earlier, is that putting in the work doesn't mean you're out shoveling ditches and doing things that are backbreaking, you know, that are 12-hour work days, this, that, and the other. Like when you're sitting at home for, you know, 3 to 5 hours in the evening with nothing to do, you're just melting your brain to Netflix and Instagram and Facebook. Use half that time to start figuring something out. We said this, I think, in the couple podcasts ago, or the last one maybe, about investing and stuff. Start learning about stuff. Start learning about stocks and other kinds of investments or your hobbies to be able to make money. That stuff is work. And like we said with the TikTok thing, if you can take a hobby and make money from it, that's work.
And it doesn't have to be the things you think of. Like you're talking about stock and investment and you hit on TikTok a little bit, but if we want to go from Kim Kardashian to Kylie Jenner, it's makeup. How many girls have a ton of followings on YouTube? They sit there and do their makeup because they're really good at makeup. Or, I mean, I don't even care about makeup. I don't know how to put on anything but mascara, but someone will send me an Instagram of someone making their face look like an old lady with a big gash in her face and she can peel it off and it's like prosthetics on her face. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I'll watch it. So she gets a watch I don't even care about that stuff, you know? But there's people that are making a living off of makeup on YouTube. There's people that are making a living off of talking about their favorite video games and they're 12. Like there's so many things you can do.
Right.
It, like you said, it doesn't have to be the stereotypical view of what work is. Like Kim
Right.
Kardashian's not digging a ditch and renovating a bathroom like I'm doing, and she's way more ahead of I am, you know? So
Right.
there's different things that you can do. It doesn't have to be the stereotypical thing, but when you start taking away your own power and saying why somebody else has it so better than you because they like work, put in some effort there.
Right.
We have all heard the rags to riches stories of people that came from nothing and they worked really hard and they became successful. And I think those are kind of our favorite stories. And I think they really pull at our hearts when we read stories of people that really came from nothing.
Right.
It can be done. If it's been done before, you can do it too. So the biggest thing that you have to do is stop thinking that it can't happen to you. Like I always tell with real estate, when I do the new agent orientation, if there's an agent that started, you know, less than 10 years ago or less than 15, I don't care how many years ago it is, and they're selling this much, then you can do it too. There's no reason if it's been done that you cannot do it. Any business, if someone came into your town and started an awesome electrical business or an awesome tiling business or an accounting firm or whatever it is, everyone's done it. It can be done. And people have made things that are brand new. When Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, no one had done that. And look what he created. When Elon Musk started doing all the stuff he was doing, no one had done it yet. You can do things that haven't been done and you can do things that have been done. But when you choose to take your power away from yourself and give it away because you want to spend your time talking negatively about somebody else, like, no, go work, go create what you want to create.
So let me ask you this though, because that's all well and good, but how do you get the people to want to do it? Because I think that's the hard thing is like you were saying this, you know, learned helplessness stuff. Like when you get so far down to where it's just every day is just dreary and I'll wait for my, you know, free check to roll in and just scrape by every week. And I've survived this long and like, it is what it is. Right. How do you change that thought process? Like not just, you know, to help them manifest the things that they want. And again, to see that you don't have to go out and break your back to get to work. You can work from your cell phone, which everybody has. I mean, you know, we had talked about probably a couple episodes ago about doing property management and stuff and how frustrating it was for me from time to time when a tenant would come in and give me their sob story about not being able to pay rent. And they'd be sitting there with a newer iPhone than I have and their nails are done and the car outside has dealer plates on it. And I'm like, yeah, it's no wonder you can't pay your rent. Like poor decision making, right? So how do you try to instill that in people that you can achieve the things you want. You can go after those things, and it doesn't have to be as hard as they make it seem. And like you had even said, you know, you're more in the digging trenches phase of your life versus Kim Kardashian. But when you look at where you've come from, it's light years ahead of where you started, you know? And so it's just a matter of getting going also. You got to just at some point make the decision. Today's the day that I have to start moving forward, working towards something, and, you know, putting in the time, putting in the effort, and just doing it, really.
So I think you have a couple different types of people. I think you have people who have different goals. So, and I mean, I hear Gary Vaynerchuk talk about this all the time. There's people that love business. They love the chase. They love entrepreneurship. They really want to have high earnings, and that's their main goal. You have people who, I'd say for me, I'm a security chaser. So for me, financial wealth, financial independence, that's just out of a need for security. I want to be comfortable. I want to know that if needed, I can help the people that I love. I want to know that I'm set up. So I'm not really a stuff person, but I want the security. So I think I also like the game of business and business planning. And so for me, that's just something I enjoy. I think you have people who are really content. Their biggest thing is, I want to be able to spend time with my family. So if I make $50,000 a year, but I can go to every soccer game, I can go to every basketball game, I can, have dinner with my family, with my husband, with my wife at night, that's their level of contentedness.
Right.
So I think first you have to search like what you want. But those people also don't feel helpless and hopeless. Those are people that are happy and fulfilled, and they have the right balance in their life. That's not the person that's saying, oh, F Kim Kardashian, she has everything she wants, I hate my life. No, they're happy and fulfilled because that's what they want. So I think that people have different goals, and I think that's great. And first you have to realize what it is that you want and what you're willing to do. But if you are somebody that wants to be a multimillionaire, or you want a certain lifestyle and you're not willing to work, then there's a big jump there, right? Something has to change. And so you have people that are never going to do, there's people that are never going to do what they need to do. There's people that no matter what, they are going to do what they're going to do. They're going to make bad financial decisions, and they're never going to change. You have people who are automatically going to do the right thing all the time. Financially, they're going to do research. They have their goals. They're going to do what it takes to reach their goals. They're going to sacrifice. And no matter what, they are going to face all the adversity, and they're going to do it. And then I think you have the people who have goals and they want to reach them and they don't know how. And so that's where I think that's where my desire to have financial education available to people on YouTube, on Instagram, and teaching skill sets to people comes in, because a lot of people want something different, but they don't know how to get there. I've talked to some people about different things financially. I love podcasts, and I love discussion boards and stuff online where you can talk about learning about finance and how it works. And so many people just don't even know what they're missing. And so once they find the tools and they find the skills, they're going to do what they need to do to get to the position they want to be in. So I think the biggest thing is just giving the resources to people that want to make the changes. And with the internet, the resources are there. So then I think the last group of people I'm thinking of is the people that want something different, but like we talked about, they think that no matter what they do, they can't have anything different. And so for them, that's going to take some deep soul searching and some inner work to, like I said, little wins. Like, okay, so I saved up a little bit and I paid off this small debt, or I saved up a little bit and I was able to invest in this. They're going to have to make the choice to start those little baby steps and work towards getting their mind and their spirit and their mentality to a baseline where then they can be at the next step where they do the research and they do the learning, and okay, now I'm willing to take on those big hard things and those sacrifices that get me to the next level in life. But for the people that just don't want it, or the people that just don't care, it's just a different mindset. I don't know, because I've never been there. I've always been, okay, here's where I'm at, here's where I want to be, here's what I have to do, and I'm just going to do it,
Right.
So, I don't think anyone knows the answer to that question. I think the biggest thing we can do is just give financial literacy information to people that want it, and make the resources available. But beyond that, you can't make somebody do something they don't want to do.
Yeah. And I think there's also maybe one additional person to put in those categories, and it's kind of maybe the dreamer, so to speak, because you see a lot of the people that act like they want the knowledge and they seek it out. That's the thing. You were telling me this just the other day that I believe it was Gary Vee was talking about how he'll put everything out there. He'll tell you his exact recipe for success, every single step of what he did along the way. And obviously he has become mega successful and super popular and, all that stuff. So you take his word and, some people really live off of his word and stuff like that. But he himself has said, I will give you every single thing, every bit of knowledge I have. And he said, some people will not follow it.
I think he said, yeah, like 1% of you are going to do this.
Yeah. So a very, very small percentage of people are even going to go forward with it. So I think that, even if you're putting this information out there and this financial literacy stuff and all that kind of stuff, there's people that, yes, they're going to make the decision to go after it, but there's still those people that are just going to listen to it and watch it and think that that's improving their lives. And it's not. So, again, it just becomes a matter of you can't spend 8 hours of your day watching Gary Vee videos and calling that work, but having no action after the fact.
Yeah, you have to actually do something. You have to follow up. So even if you know exactly what you should be doing, I have agents come to me all the time and say, hey, what should I be doing? And we talk about things they could be doing, and they either just don't do them or they do them for a very short amount of time, because it's really hard when you don't get the instant gratification. So then they have this, oh, I did it and it didn't work. Well, you did it for 20 days and it didn't work. You got to do it every day for a really long time for it to work. Or here's a crazy example. So I recently had somebody bring me something to my office. It was something they had made, and they said, hey, we want you to buy these for gifts for clients. And they were very, very, it was something I wasn't interested in, but they were very, very persistent. And I mean, they were calling me at the office on my cell phone like 3 to 5 times a day. It got to the point where, and this was just like right when I got it, so I didn't have time to deal with it. And I also wasn't interested, but it was very off-putting how much they were contacting me. And then I found out from my office manager that they actually had bid a job to do all new countertops in a like a mercantile or a store or something, and they hadn't done them yet. And I'm like, so you have a decent sized job that you have sold and someone is agreeing to pay you for it, but you're out here trying to sell this and calling and calling and calling. You have a job that you could finish and someone could say, hey, this is good. And it's in a public place where they'd probably let you put something up, or you could advertise, hey, I did that, and people could see it. And you have this job in your pocket and you haven't even started or completed that, and you're trying to do this. I mean, it was just kind of interesting to me that they were supposed to be doing something else and hadn't do it, and they weren't calling this person back, just from a business perspective of kind of how we shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes too.
Yeah.
It was like a failure to thrive. Like they were trying to get something else going, but like they weren't finishing the thing that they were supposed to already be committed to.
Right. Well, we kind of had seen a little bit of that with different like handymen or contractors along the way, trying to get stuff repaired during, like I said, when we were doing property management and stuff. And it was difficult. They would show up sometimes or not at all, or they'd be great for a couple jobs. And then it seemed like, well, the money was good, so they took a month off. And like, you're not getting ahead that way. It never stayed consistent. The work, it became very, very poor after a couple of jobs being done really well. Then the standards started to slide, and then maybe they hired some employees, and then the employees weren't doing very well. And it's just weird. It just really is weird. I definitely think we have seen way, way, way more of an uptick in, like you were talking about in the very beginning of this thing, just people just don't want to work. Like they'll do enough to get by maybe for the month or whatever, but that's it. Like that's all they're willing to do. And I don't know if it's because of the internet and all kinds of other stuff that's eating up their time and their brain or what, but it's just weird to me that even in the time, like we've talked about, you can make Instagram your work. You can make Facebook your work. You can make TikTok and YouTube and Twitch, whatever, streaming games. And like, there's all kinds of different sites and sources. And, it seems like it's doing more harm than good, even though it's affording some people the opportunity, the ones that are really grabbing a hold and taking it and understanding that it still is work. And it does, like I said, it doesn't have to be hard work, but it's still putting in the time. It's still putting in the hours. It's still trying to get ahead. You brought up a really good point a little bit ago about everybody's end goal is different. So the conversation, even Kim saying, get off your butt and go to work, like no one has the expectation that every single person is trying to thrive to be
hundreds of
millionaire, a billionaire or whatever. Like, sure, anybody walking would take that money if it was given to them. But a lot of people, like you said, are content being where they're at in life or with a certain level of income and whatnot. But the reality of it is the thing I think that she's really hitting home is the fact that too many people are too willing to just talk shit on the internet and say what they want to say. And, poor me, and oh, my life is so hard and this, that. Well, you're not doing anything. Like, that's the point, is you're not doing anything to improve it. And, you may have started way, way, way behind everybody else and had a way tougher road than everybody else. But like you said, that, that shining story of the came from nothing, rags to riches. Like, how many times a week do we hear The Rock mention, I only had $7 in my pocket? Like, we fucking know, man. Like, you're a success story that everybody loves. So, that kind of mentality, like, he's done a very, very good job of letting people know that, like, what he has now, he got completely through nothing but hard work, and seeing how poor he was, how much harder that made him have to work to get ahead. And, and I think people also don't understand when they start to get some, financial literacy and also a little bit of financial freedom as they move forward in life and pay off some debts and kind of get away from certain things, that money grows a lot faster once you kind of get out of the rut, right? And getting out of the rut's pretty tough. It can take a few years to get out of that rut, but it definitely can be a pretty good turnaround point. So seeing it like, oh, well, it's just so hard to get ahead and I'm never going to have this kind of an investment or that kind of investment. Well, those things actually come a lot quicker than you think when you really start putting in the hours and putting in the work and doing what you need to do to get stuff done. And, not everything in life is going to be fun. So, I've told a lot of people this when people talk about like, oh, the student loans that I have are keeping me down. Well, I came out of, college and grad school with student loans, and part of what I did to pay those off was join the Army. I did 8 years in the Army, and was it the funnest thing in the world? No, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do to get shit done.
And
right?
on top of that, on top of your story of joining the Army to pay those off, we had issues with the military. So they kept not submitting your stuff, right? Remember, we would submit the paperwork, and there was, we'd keep checking and checking, and there was never a payment. And didn't you find out that the guy was in that department was like shredding people's stuff because he didn't know how to do it? And it wasn't just you, but he didn't know how to do his job. So wasn't he just shredding that paperwork when he got it?
Yeah, he not just mine, it was the whole, not battalion, but the whole company. So he was like the sergeant who ran the company or whatever. And every time anybody turned in paperwork for either student loan repayment or, GI Bill stuff or any of that stuff, he didn't know what he was doing, so he would just put it in the shredder and then
we resubmitted that paperwork so many times. And so we had a point where we had, I think, $1,200 a month was our minimum payment on student loans,
right?
And so to pay extra, we really had to make smart decisions, because if you just pay the minimum, man, that's going to take a long time. And we felt like we had no faith that the military was going to pay them, and we still had to make the payments. And so by the time that the military stepped in and paid some of it, because they only pay a portion of it a year, you were several years in, even though they should have started paying years and years before. And so we got a portion of what they were supposed to repay, but we knew if we wait and we depend on them, we are going to be bogged down by this for a really long time. And so we made the decision to take responsibility, pay extra. And I remember us having conversations. This stinks to pay the extra, because then we're losing out on what they could pay us. But with the interest being so high, like, we have to do it. So yeah, you joined the military and maybe got a little bit more than half of what they were supposed to pay, I think. And then we paid the rest of them off.
So it was right around half. So going in as an officer with an 8-year contract, at the time when I went in, I was supposed to get $50,000 in student loan repayment. And kind of what you had just already said, a few years in, it took till I think the 4th year of service before they made a payment.
Before they paid a dime.
Because of the paperwork issue and this, that, and the other. But you're right. So they did pay a certain amount each year, and it was just one, kind of lump sum per year moving forward. Well, when we sat down, and I remember we had arguments about this, because this was me not having financial literacy. And I was like, you're out of your mind if you think we should be paying this. They're going to pay $50,000.
Like paying extra on it, because we had to pay the minimum.
Right. And so you sat down, and I think you even probably wrote it out and showed, were able to show me that if we wait for them to pay $50,000 off, we're losing set amount out of pocket because of interest and, stuff that I wasn't familiar with. Obviously, my financial literacy has definitely grown through you, because of you being very, very interested in that and stuff. And it's been very beneficial. But so by the end of this thing, by the end of the 8-year term, I had only received $25,000 of the $50,000. Now, that being said, because obviously we did pay it off ourselves, the rest of it off ourselves, because of the interest thing, and that it was actually going to save us money, as stupid as that sounds, to pay it off ourselves early. And then on the backside, just because I had signed contracts saying that I was going to get $50,000 in student loan repayment. Well, they don't cut the check to you as a soldier. They send it to the company with the student loan. So once it's paid off, it's paid off. The Army got 4 extra years of service out of me for, half the amount of money I was supposed to get. And you don't get that back. I didn't then get...
And they didn't back pay for what
Right.
they hadn't paid the first 4 years.
Right. So I didn't get anything. I didn't get the additional 25 from the Army. It just was what it was. But those are choices in life that you just kind of, you work through and you get through, and you got to figure out, how do we get through this? And it honestly kind of is what it is. It was very hard work. It was, a lot of long hours and, just good old military fun, but it was what needed to take place at that point in time in our lives. And I had made that decision that was a very, very beneficial thing for me to try to help get a big chunk of my student loans paid off was through the military.
And you know what? It's just taking ownership. It probably sucked way more when you were going through something hard in the military, feeling like they had shorted you and a benefit you were supposed to get, you didn't get. But if you would have cried about it and felt sorry for yourself and not made the choice you had to make, you would have still been the exact same situation as far as
Right.
being in the military and dealing with what you were dealing with, except you would have been in debt longer and paid more money.
Right.
So yeah, it sucks. Sometimes things in life suck and you get done wrong and things don't work out the way that they should or the way someone promised you. And the opportunity that was given to you it didn't actually happen. But if you just sit there and feel sorry for yourself and don't dig yourself out of the hole or climb yourself up the ladder, the only one that pays is you. Right. Nobody cares if your life is harder, and that sucks, but it is what it is. And so I think that's just something we need to think of from this. Like, if you want to make your life better, it's your choice. And if you want to make sacrifices, it's your choice. But sitting and saying that it's whoever's fault or doing a pity party about it changes nothing for you at all in your life.
Yeah. And then, the same thing coming down on celebrities for stuff that, out of sight, out of mind, it's out of your control. Don't worry about what they're doing. Like, why do you care what they're doing? That's the thing too, is a lot of these people complain about the amount of money that these celebrities are making while they are currently funding them by tuning into their TV shows or their, Instagram page to help them get views and likes and all that stuff. And the amount of people that, say, eat the billionaires and this, that, and the other. And these people that hate on, what's the Amazon guy?
Oh, Bezos.
How many of them are Prime members?
Yeah. How many packages are you ordering a day?
Yeah. Don't come. It's too hard. It's just too frustrating to keep up with some of this stuff. And it's just, I think it really just truly boils down to, you have to have the want to make a better life for yourself and your family and whatever else, because we've said this whole entire time over the last, 40 some minutes, all of the resources are out there. It's not hard. You have a computer in your pocket that I think they even say is more technologically advanced than what was on the spaceship that went to the moon. There's no excuse at this point. It literally is simply just boils down to laziness and lack of trying and lack of will.
You have to do the work. You said you have to want it, but there's a lot of people that want it. You have to do the work.
Yeah.
And when someone else does the work and has a positive outcome, you probably shouldn't be talking negatively about them. You should just learn from it. We have so many examples and resources of people saying, here's how I did it for free, putting it online. Here's how I did it for free. And there's people selling it, but there's people doing it for free too. But you have to do it. And if you don't do it, it's not going to work for you. So in any business you're in any business you own, in any business that you work in, if you're an employee, like, you got to do the work if you want things to change for your life.
Yep.
Anything else to add?
No, I was going to make a crude joke about Kim K and how her career started. Like most people just working their, hardest down on their hands and knees. But I don't need to go that route.
Well, there's lots of people who have done that as well and are not as successful as she is. So again, she has used her resources. She has used the opportunity. I mean, I think on the other token, we see, okay, I just watched that Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, not spoof, but it was their story. But I mean, they didn't consult on it. So it was their story as people inferred, right? And how negatively it impacted her career. And I know it was a different time and people are more accepting of different things now than they were then. But again, that could have gone one or two directions, right? So you have situations, and you deal with your situations. But again, no matter what someone wants to say about Kim Kardashian, she has worked very, very hard. She has had opportunities given to her. She has had a platform to start on, but she has worked very, very hard. So I just, she could have started where she did and not be anywhere near where she is now. So I think that that's the thing is you need to work hard if you want something. And I think the absolute biggest thing I want anyone listening or watching this to take away from it is you are not helpless. The things you do in life, they have an impact, and they have an impact on your future. And it might not have an impact in a week. It might not have an impact in a year. It might take you 5 years. The stuff that we have been building business wise, it's 10 plus years in. And just now I feel like we're starting to get to a point where it's paying off. So it's not going to be instant gratification, but you have the power to change and better your life. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. So believe you can and do it. That's all I got.
Agreed.
If you like what you're hearing, please like and subscribe to the My House podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are watching this on YouTube, also please like and subscribe. And if you don't like this, please don't leave a review. Otherwise, please leave a 5-star review. Thanks for listening.